बढ़िया टीचर्स प्रॉब्लम्स चुटकी में सुलझाएंगे डाउट सारी जिंदगी से
Raj, I got your doubt. This is your answer.
समझ आएगा तो मजा आएगा। Vedantu, learn live online. To attend a free live class, download the app now.
Hey guys, good evening, namaste and welcome to another wonderful session of our Class 10 ICSE Biology series. This is Ambika, Master Teacher of Biology at Vedantu. I hope all of you are doing absolutely great. I've been hearing a lot of stuff from a lot of my students regarding your pre-boards. Ma'am, my pre-boards are happening. Ma'am, my pre-boards are about to start. All of those things, right? So just to think of where we started, remember it was in the month of October that we launched the ICSE series, and it's been 3 full months now since we have been doing exclusively biology, and I'm actually feeling proud and very, very happy to say that we are done with all the 15 chapters, which have been cut down or combined to form only 14 chapters in some textbooks. But anyway, 14 or 15, whatever the number is, I am very happy to say that we are done with all the chapters, the major concept discussions, right? It may not be practical, like I keep saying, to discuss each and every nook and corner of your textbook, but whatever you have been asking for the most, we've been doing sessions on them, right? So this week, okay, we thought it would be ideal and it would be very, very useful for you to discuss the much awaited ICSE official specimen paper, the sample paper officially released by ICSE for this academic year, which is 2019-20. For those of you who are appearing for your ICSE 10th board exams in the month of March this year, which is just a couple of months away, right? So based on this discussion, today and tomorrow, we are going to be discussing the ICSE specimen paper for biology. So why I broke it down into 2 parts is so that you don't feel stressed out discussing the entire thing at one stretch. So as you know, the ICSE board exam paper is for 80 marks and it's for a duration of 2 hours, right? So it's been divided into section 1 and 2. We've discussed the pattern, if you recall, at the start of our ICSE launch. Do not worry, in case you have not watched that video, you can still go to our playlist and just search for our initial few sessions, the general sessions regarding ICSE paper pattern discussion, ICSE exam pattern, and all of those, what books to refer. I've done sessions for you on all of those about 3 months ago. So I would suggest it would be very, very useful to have a basic understanding of the exam pattern before sitting down to attempt the specimen paper. Okay, so anyway, let's not waste any more time. As I said, today we shall be discussing only section 1 of the paper, and tomorrow we shall be taking up section 2 of the paper. Okay, but as always, how do we start a session without a positive quote, right? So this is what I want to tell you today. Don't study to earn. Study to learn, because what you learn today is what you will become tomorrow. Okay, I found this beautiful because at one glance you may wonder why it says, well, don't study to earn, because money is important, right? Of course, I do agree that it is important, but I would certainly not deny the fact that studying and learning are not synonymous. Studying is something that you do for the sake of an examination, or for the sake of scoring marks, or for the sake of going into a particular career or something like that. But learning is a much more natural process, is a much more beautiful process. All of us started learning things from the day one of our life, from day one of our birth, of our coming into this planet, right? So learning is a much more natural thing, and actually that has a much better impact also, right? So if you just give it a slight thought for a couple of minutes, you will understand what I'm talking about, because eventually what I'm trying to say is that if you convert your studying into learning, definitely it's going to be even more beautiful. The results are going to be even much more productive, and your future is certainly going to be bright and secure. Okay. And children, as you know, these are our 2019 ICSE toppers, the Vedantu students, 2019 ICSE Class 10 toppers, and you will certainly be able to top with a little bit of effort. And of course, we are always here to support you, not just on YouTube. We have a lot of courses out there on the Vedantu platform. We have what is called the micro courses, right? So these are the basic features of the micro course. The best thing in a nutshell to tell you is that these are available to you chapter wise. Okay, so you just have to pick up specific chapters that you need help with, which will give you access to all of these features: complete discussion, formulae, concepts, everything that you need, revision, summary, quizzes, assignments, and whatnot. And the best part of it is that it starts at a price as low as ₹11. Okay, all you have to do is go to this link, okay, and use the code AMMIC to avail the special discount that we have, okay. And now I have a very, very special news for you. This offer, we have some very special offer exclusively for the weekend, okay. So because today is a Saturday, you have this offer open to you between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., by which we mean that you get any number of micro courses, okay, be it 1 micro course, 2 micro courses, or even 100 micro courses that you want. Everything available to you as a bundle at a very, very reasonable rate of ₹11, available at flat ₹11. Isn't that wonderful? So do not waste any more time, children. Get your courses now. Think about what micro courses you would need, and between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. do not forget, and this is valid only for the weekends, okay. And of course, for children who need something like a crash course, especially for your math and science subjects for ICSE Class 10, we have launched an ICSE 10 crash course also, wherein for physics, chemistry, math and biology, you have the entire year syllabus with all of these features, the entire chapter discussion, and then you have rank booster quizzes, past paper analysis, doubt solving by expert teachers, by the expert academic mentors, and of course replay or recording of the classes that you have missed, right? Because your pre-boards are happening now in school. Every school has a different schedule of these. Timings would be different, exam timetables would be different. So based on your convenience, you can certainly utilize our crash course for a full year's revision of science and math. And again, what you have to do for that, this is the stepwise instruction for you on what you can do to get subscribed to the crash course. Just go visit this link and use the code AMCC again to avail it at an attractive rate of $7,999 only. Okay, this means a package of physics, chemistry, math, biology, and all the chapters in these subjects. Okay, so that's again another thing that you can certainly try out. And as you know, the Vedantu Learning app has been awarded the User's Choice App Award 2019. Do keep using them, using the app, and do stay in touch with us through the Telegram group. You can join us using the link that's given below in the description box. And of course, hit the like button right now, guys, if you have been enjoying all our sessions, and sharing. I'm assuming you would be sharing it, because I always tell in my sessions, sharing is caring, right? Especially today's video is certainly going to be useful for all the ICSE children out there across India, because we are discussing the specimen paper for biology, right? So do remember to share it with all your friends who will find it useful, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done it yet, because we are still working on a lot more useful things for you for the days to come. All right, and with that, let's get started with our specimen paper, biology. And as I said, today we shall be discussing section 1, which overall will fetch you 40 marks, right? So your entire paper is for 80 marks, divided as two different sections of 40-40 each. Okay, so do not go anywhere, children. Stay with me until the end of the session, because by the end of the session I am very, very sure, I can assure you, your confidence levels will be greatly boosted. Why is it that I'm telling you this? It's not because the same questions are going to come, but because not just understanding concepts. I personally am a teacher who believes that it's not just understanding of concepts that will make you a winner when it comes to exams. A lot of your success in exams, especially in major exams like your board exams in India, a lot of your success can be assured only and only with a thorough understanding of the exam pattern. Indirectly, psychologically, that also has an effect of boosting your confidence somewhere at the back of your mind. Okay, so I want all of you to participate now. Of course, I am not with you doing a live session now, but when it's getting premiered, I will be watching all your chats and I will be looking at how many of you are able to answer my questions correctly. Okay, most of these are things that we have discussed in our sessions over the last 3 months. So let's get started. Question number 1. Okay, name the following. It's for 5 marks, of course, not this one alone. We have 5 sub questions, each for 1 mark. Okay, that's actually the beauty of ICSE paper, because you really know, because it's broken down into so many sub questions, you really know what to write in crisp, the exact point that will fetch you marks. You certainly have an idea of that. Yes, so this is the question. The hormone that regulates the basal metabolic rate. Okay, just think about it. Which chapter are we talking about? Yes, we are talking about the chapter Endocrine System. And we've discussed a lot of major hormones that play a role in the human body. And among them, which is the one that regulates the basal metabolic rate? Something that regulates metabolism. If you have too much of that hormone, you would be an abnormally hyperactive person, and if you have too less of that hormone or hyposecretion of that hormone, you are normally a very, very lazy and sluggish person. Okay, so what is the answer? Yes, it is thyroxine, which is secreted by your thyroid gland found at the base of your neck. Okay, now let's go ahead. Question number 2. Sub question number 2. Okay, the part of the internal ear related to the static balance of the body. Okay, now this is something that I have not taught you, we have not discussed in our sessions on YouTube, but for those of you who are familiar with the sense organs, you would certainly be able to tell me the answer. If you would like, yes, here is an aid, a diagram which will give you an idea about the inner ear. The human ear can be divided into the external ear, the middle ear and the inner ear, and this is what the inner ear looks like. Of course, there were a lot of colorful images also that I could have chosen, but I found this to be much clearer than those, which is why I did not bother about the colors. So anyway, have a look at this and tell me if it strikes any bells based on what you have learnt in your school or somewhere. What would be the answer? The answer is actually the sensory cells in the utriculus and the sacculus, which are part of your inner ear, helping in maintaining static balance of the body. Okay, so do not worry. I understand that many of you have been asking me, sending me queries and requests for a session on sense organs. I will be taking up that very, very soon. So stay tuned. Sometime within the next 1 week, hopefully, you can expect a class on sense organs. In fact, when we had asked for a poll on that chapter, because that's a lengthy chapter, right? I had asked you what topics you would want, and many of you voted on the community page. There were not many votes for sensory organs, which is why we decided not to focus much on that. But anyway, now since a lot of requests have been coming up, I would be happy to help you out. So let's go ahead. For now, understand the inner ear. Parts of the inner ear called the utriculus and sacculus help in this function, which is static balance of the body. Okay, and with that, let's go to sub question number 3. Yes, the soluble protein in blood plasma responsible for blood clotting. What is the answer? Mechanism of blood clotting. I remember discussing this in a session on frequently asked questions on circulatory system. Yes, so have a look at the cycle that we had discussed. This is exactly the image that we used for that session as well. In this, which is the protein that is involved in blood clotting? The answer is, of course, there are a lot of factors, but what is the protein that is involved? The answer is fibrinogen. Okay? So, yes, there we go, fetching you another 1 mark. Fibrinogen is your answer here. Okay? Yes. So, let's go ahead. Sub question number 4. Extremely simple. The gaseous plant hormone. Don't have a second thought at all. There are just 5 plant hormones that we have to learn. What are they? Auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid, and ethylene. Among these, there's only one which is gaseous in nature, and that is ethylene. Okay? Fruit ripening hormone. Now, the uptake of mineral ions against the concentration gradient. Yes, again, another very simple one. If you just give it some thought, have a look at this picture. Okay, I remember discussing this with you earlier. Against the concentration gradient, this is what it means. Now imagine this is the cell membrane. Okay, if that's the cell membrane, you can see the concentration of solutes is very less here on one side and much higher on the other side. So as a normal process, what would happen? It would move from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration, right? That's how it always works like that, diffusion, osmosis. But sometimes when it has to work against the concentration gradient, what do you call it? When it has to happen against the concentration gradient in the reverse direction, it means energy is required. It doesn't naturally happen. So energy is definitely required. And because energy is required, we give it a special name, which is active transport. Yes, active transport would be the name that you give to such a movement against the concentration gradient. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the very first question. Okay, so the very first multiple choice question is about transpiration. It says the rate of transpiration will be fastest when the day is which of these? And have a look at the options. What you can see is that you've been given different aspects of 3 different factors which affect transpiration, which are temperature, humidity, and wind. So talking about temperature, just recall what we have learnt. Transpiration rate normally, does it increase or decrease when temperature is high? Yes, when it's hot, when the temperature is hot, transpiration rate increases, right? So for temperature, we have to choose options which have hot as the first one. What about humidity? Now, when the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere is high, which means humidity is high, transpiration rate would be less, right? And vice versa. When the weather is dry or when there is not much water vapor in the atmosphere, the rate of transpiration would be higher. So our answer has to be option D, because hot and dry are coming as a combination only in option D, and dry is coming only in option D. So let's just verify still. Windy, yes, when there is too much of wind, when wind velocity is high, transpiration rate again increases. So yes, as we have discussed, the answer would be option D. Transpiration rate would be fastest when the day is hot, dry, and windy. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Again, a question based on another plant hormone. So let's think about what cytokinins do. Now, cytokinins, if you recall, I had told you that cyto is cell and kinin is something to do with movement or division. Something that's associated with cell division. think about it like that. Which of these would require this hormone the most? Because cell division keeps happening. What do you think? Yes, the answer has to be meristematic tissues, because they are the growing parts of plants where continuous cell division happens. So meristematic tissues will be your answer there. Now, question number 3. Okay, let me put that down. All right. A cell has 5 pairs of chromosomes. After mitotic division, the number of chromosomes in the daughter cells will be which of these? Do you think it will be 5, 10, 20 or 40? Yes, this again takes us back to those sessions that we discussed at the start of the launch of our ICSE series, which is all about cell division, cell cycle and cell division, mitosis, meiosis and all of those stages. Okay, now remember, just in case you don't remember what happens in mitosis, we are talking about a mitotic division, right? Mitotic division is also called equational division, by which we mean that the parent cell, suppose the parent cell is diploid, the daughter cells would also be diploid. Equal number of chromosomes in the parent cells and the daughter cells. That is what mitosis is. So if the parent cell has 5 pairs of chromosomes, what do you think the daughter cells would have? How many chromosomes would they have? The confusion is probably between 5 and 10. Okay, but read the question very carefully. It says the number of chromosomes. It doesn't say number of pairs of chromosomes. It just says number of chromosomes. So, considering that in a diploid cell, chromosomes are always paired up, the answer here would be 10 or 5 pairs. Okay, if you had an option called 5 pairs, 10 pairs, 20 pairs and 40 pairs, the answer I would happily agree to be 5 pairs. But because, okay, just make a note of this, children, because it just says number of chromosomes, it has to be 10. Okay, so that brings us another 1 mark. So let's go ahead and look at the next. Yes, the answer is 10. Let's look at the next multiple choice. Choose the correct answer again from something that's related to the brain, the parts of your brain. Cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla, hypothalamus. What do you think learning is related to? Which of these parts has learning as a function, as an important function? Yes, we've studied that the most intelligent part of your brain is the, look at this diagram. Which part of the brain is this? Yes, the 4 lobes are a part of that. Yes, it is indeed the cerebrum, the seat of intelligence, right? So learning is associated with the cerebrum. All the other parts have their own functions. Now question number 5. The most primitive ancestor of man. Okay, can be a little confusing, but if you recall the stages of human evolution like a story, you will be able to write the answer properly. Okay, is it Homo habilis, is it Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal or Australopithecus? Okay, I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it, and after that I'll give you a hint, or rather give you the answer itself. Okay, now have a look at this. This is what we looked at when I taught you human evolution. Okay, I'll just move out for a second. So among these are the major stages of human evolution. Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalensis and Homo sapiens. And among these, the most primitive ancestor is Australopithecus, and hence that becomes our answer. Okay, and this fetches you another 1 mark. So totally we have now managed to score 10 marks in all. So great job, guys. Clap for yourselves. And with that motivation, let's go ahead and look at sub question number C, okay, of the first main question. All right, this looks like a communicative English paper, but You have to read it properly, and it is very, very simple if you get an understanding of what is being asked. Okay, the following paragraph is related to the absorption of water from the soil. Okay, what you are supposed to do is you have to complete this paragraph using appropriate words from those given here in italics. Okay, so pick the most appropriate word for each of the blanks which have been numbered 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so 5 blanks which, if answered correctly, will fetch you 5 marks. Again, that makes it 15. Okay, 10 we've already managed to score, so don't forget about that. Now, water enters the root hair from the soil by the process of dash. Which of these do you think would be most appropriate for that? Okay, so let's do this together. Water enters the root hair from the soil by the process of, yes, a very, very important process, osmosis, right? So blank number 1 would be osmosis. This is because, now why does this occur? This is because the solution in the soil is dash, whereas the cell sap in the root hair is dash. Now if you recall, this is the root and this is the root hair. The cells, there are cells inside the root hair, right? And these are soil particles. Right, so think of the concentration in the soil particles, in between the soil particles in the soil environment, and the concentration inside the root hair cells. Okay, that is what we are talking about. Which one would be more concentrated than the other? And what is the term that you give to the highly concentrated part and the low concentrated part? Okay, that is what you need to answer here. So 1 is osmosis. So this is because the solution in the soil solution is less concentrated, right? So you call that hypotonic. So second blank will be hypotonic, which means dilute, as compared to the cell sap in the root hair, which is opposite of hypotonic, and that is hypertonic. Okay, and the water then passes through the dash cells. Okay, once it is taken into the roots, where does it go? Okay, that is what we are talking about. It just keeps traveling upward, and where does it go? Passes through what cells? The root cortex, remember? So that would be the cortical cells. So that makes it number 4. Cortical cells would fill it here by cell to cell dash. Again, a type of osmosis which is called endosmosis. Okay, and that would be blank number 5, endosmosis, and reaches the xylem of the root. Okay, so do not worry if you got confused. I have a simple explanation for you. This simple image explains to you whatever we need about this concept. Okay, so this structure that you see here is basically the root hair. Okay, and what you see here, the brown structures are all the soil particles. So when we are talking about concentration, just the word concentration would mean solute concentration. Okay, so solute concentration is higher in the cell sap as compared to the soil particles. There is more water outside than inside the cell sap. Okay, so water ends up moving from outside to the inside. Okay, that is why this happens by the process of osmosis, and it keeps going up. Okay, that is where we were talking about hypertonic and hypotonic, concentrated and dilute, and it comes here, this part which is called the root cortex. So we call all these cells the cortical cells. Okay, and water then passes across the root from cell to cell by osmosis. What kind of osmosis? It's called endosmosis because water is entering into a cell, right? So endosmosis. And it also seeps between the cells. Okay, that is exactly what we have explained in this passage. So here is the entire passage for you with the answers. Just have a look at it, read through it. If there is any question you still have in your minds, please do not hesitate to put them down in the comment section below. if it makes sense and if it's a very valid question that everyone else should know, I will certainly take it up and explain in the next session. Okay. If not, I would suggest go back to my video on absorption by roots and have a look at where we have discussed this concept. Okay. Things will be definitely much clearer to you. Okay. So there it is. The answers are there. Of course, it can be confusing because all of these terms, many of them sound very, very similar to each other, right? So do not worry about that. Give it a little bit of thought. Understand the split of each word: exosmosis, endosmosis, hypertonic, hypotonic. What would each of them mean? And certainly you will be able to arrive at the answer. Okay, so that has again fetched us 5 solid marks. All right, and now we are coming to sub-question number D. Okay, sub-question number 4 of the main question, which is 1. Okay, now give the exact location of each of the following structures. Now it's getting a little bit harder than before. Until now it seemed very, very nice and straightforward, and now it's getting a little harder, but it's all right. Not all that difficult. It is definitely manageable. Corpus callosum, first one. What comes to your mind when you think of the word corpus callosum? Where do you think it is? Yes, beyond doubt, I'm sure all of you have said the answer as the brain. This is the bundle of fibers which would bridge the right and left hemispheres of the brain. So you would find it right there. Okay? Yes. So how do you answer such a question? You are expected only to write one sentence about where it is, but for your own reference, if you would like to make a small note, a rough diagram or something like that, that also doesn't harm, but I would suggest don't waste your time unnecessarily because it's only a 1-mark question. Okay. Now, what is the next one? We are done with corpus callosum. Now, adrenal gland. Okay, where do you find the adrenal gland? Yes, it is another endocrine gland, but where do you find it? It does secrete a very, very important hormone called adrenaline, but where do you find it? Yes, nothing very, very complex. It's absolutely straightforward. You find it at the top of each kidney like a pair of cap-like structures. Okay, so when you're asked, write the location of the adrenal glands, you have to write in a sentence, the adrenal glands are found in the form of a cap at the top of each kidney. Okay, yes. Going forward, acrosome, the third one. Okay, this may sound unfamiliar to some of you, but not for all of you. For those of you who remember what acrosome is, I would love to hear your answers. I would love to see your answers in the chat box, in the comment section below. What is acrosome? Yes, okay, I'll give you a hint. This is part of the male reproductive system. Okay, it's the topmost part of a sperm cell, present like a cap at the top of the head of the sperm. Okay, that is what the acrosome is. Okay, so that is how you have to write the answer for acrosome. Now, next question. Amnion. Okay, again related to reproductive system, but the female reproductive system this time. What exactly is the amnion? Yes, if you remember this picture, wherein we discussed this during the stages of pregnancy, right? We discussed that there are a few protective structures, a few protective layers that are formed around the growing fetus. Okay, so the amniotic sac or the amnion is there as an additional support along with many others, of course, the chorion, allantois and all of that, to protect the growing fetus. Okay, so that is what the answer would be. The amnion is found around as a protective membrane around the growing fetus. Okay, now monocytes, again, can sound familiar, but where have we heard this term before? Yes, guys? Any idea? All right, let's have a look at this. Yes, these are the formed elements of blood. Okay, the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the platelets. And among your white blood cells, there are many different types. Some of them are granular and some of them are agranular. Okay, granular white blood cells and agranular white blood cells. So the monocyte is one among the white blood cells. Okay, so as you can see from the picture very clearly, the lymphocytes and monocytes are agranular or agranulated WBCs, while the eosinophils, basophils and neutrophils are the granular or granulated WBCs. Okay, so WBCs are technically also called leukocytes because leuko is white. Okay, and red blood cells are called erythrocytes and platelets are called thrombocytes. Okay, so just in case you're asked any of these terms, do not think that it's something totally clueless. Think about the formed elements in the blood. Erythro is red, leuko is white. Okay, and thrombo is something to do with blood clotting. Okay, so that's about it. Monocyte, you can write the answer as it is a type of white blood cell found in the human blood. Okay, so yes, now let's go on to sub question number 5. All right. Wow, can't believe we have already managed to cover 50% of what we had to for today's session. 20 marks are done, 4 questions done, which means 4 into 5, 20 done. Now let's start with sub question 5 or E. Now this is very, very interesting because we are given 5 sets of terms. Okay, 5 different sets. In each case, you are expected to arrange and rewrite each word so that it is in a logical sequence. Okay, so they've also given you one as an example. So this is a set of words that are given to you: large intestine, stomach, mouth, small intestine and the esophagus. Now what makes logical sense? Obviously it has to be, think about where you find them. Okay, where you find these parts. Of course they are part of your alimentary canal. So think about the start to the end. What would form a logical sequence? Mouth would obviously come first, followed by the esophagus, stomach, small intestine and then the large intestine. Okay, something similar to this. You have to work out 5 more on your own, out of which the first one is right here: metaphase, interphase, anaphase, prophase and telophase. Okay, what are they? Yes, they are nothing but the stages of the cell cycle, the mitotic phase of the cell cycle. Okay, so just in case you want to recap, this is how it occurs. Okay, interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and of course cytokinesis follows, but it's not part of the terms that are given in our question, so that doesn't matter there. But I remember telling you a mnemonic for this. For me personally, I prefer Malayalam and Tamil. Something that you can easily remember like that will help you remember the order for the stages of mitosis. Okay, so I, P, M, A, T. So that would be our order and your answer would be this: interphase first, followed by prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Okay, yes. Next one. All right, so this is about the reproductive system. But why is it confusing? Because there are parts of the female reproductive system and in between that the sperm is also mentioned. So perhaps the situation that has to come to our mind is when the sperm is entering the female reproductive tract. So obviously because the sperm is the outsider there, it has to come as a guest. So sperm will be first over there. So have a look at this picture. The journey of the sperm or the path of the sperm. The sperm has to come first. It would travel up the vagina, the cervix, the uterus, and then of course the oviduct and upward, right? So hence our answer will be sperm, vagina, cervix, uterus and oviduct. Just in case you have forgotten, this is what the pathway is. The vagina, which is the birth canal, followed by the cervix, which is opening of the uterus, followed by the uterus, followed by the fallopian tube or the oviduct, and that is where fertilization occurs. Okay, yes. And now another one: pinna, cochlea, tympanum, ossicles and auditory canal. Again part of the human ear, all parts of the human ear. Okay, so let's look at the picture of this. This is a question that we have. I just put it out there for reference so that we don't forget what terms are asked, because there are many parts for the human ear, right? So what is pinna? Pinna is another name for your external ear. So pinna has to come first. So let's write pinna first. Okay, pinna would come first, followed by, what do you think? Auditory canal, right? There's nothing else. The auditory canal. What do you think would come next? Yes, among what is given now, this is done, this is done. The tympanum or the eardrum. Okay, right there. Tympanum follows the auditory canal. So tympanum. And after that, what comes would be the ossicles, which are these malleus, incus and stapes. Okay, so ossicles. And finally, of course, the inner ear, of which cochlea is an important part. Okay, so cochlea would be at the end. So this would be the order of terms in this. So what does this mean? This means that you have to know every part, not just the names of every part. You have to logically know the sequence of every part of everything in your textbook. Okay, that is why I actually like the pattern of ICSE questions in a way, because it doesn't just check your memory power, it also checks how well you have understood the concept. Okay, so yes, as we said, pinna, auditory canal, tympanum, ossicles and cochlea would be your answer, what I have put at the bottom. All right, okay, so let's go ahead and look at another one in the same category. It says posterior vena cava, renal artery, aorta, renal vein and kidney. All right, now remember that we are talking about the circulatory system, but what exactly in the circulatory system? You also have to think about another system to which the heart supplies blood. Which part is that? Yes, it tells you the renal artery and the renal vein. Remember, I always tell you, when you hear the word renal in biology, what has to come to your mind has to be the kidneys. Pulmonary should remind you of the lungs. Okay, gastro should remind you of your alimentary canal or your gut. Similarly, renal has to remind you of your kidneys. So yes, let's have a look at the pictures of both. This is a picture of your heart and here is an image of your kidneys, okay, to which there is blood supply from the heart. Okay, so that is the order which has been given to us in the question. Posterior vena cava. What does the posterior vena cava do? What exactly is the vena cava, first of all? Well, posterior vena cava or inferior vena cava would mean the same, just in case you're confused with the picture label and what is given in the question. Okay, anterior and posterior or superior and inferior. Okay, vena cava is basically a set of veins that would bring back deoxygenated blood from your body parts into the heart. Okay, posterior vena cava or inferior vena cava, which is this part, okay, which is this part, the inferior vena cava or the posterior vena cava would bring in deoxygenated blood from your lower body parts into your right atrium. Okay, what does the renal artery do? Yes, have a look at this picture. Artery in general is something that carries blood away from the heart. Artery, A for away. Renal artery is something that carries blood away from the heart towards the kidney. Yes, so it has to be carrying oxygenated blood. So what does the renal vein do? Renal vein carries deoxygenated blood from your kidneys back to your heart, which means renal vein empties itself into the inferior vena cava so that its deoxygenated blood was taken back into the heart. Okay, yes, and now the aorta. What exactly is the aorta? It's the largest artery of your heart. largest artery in your body. Right, so that pumps blood, as you can see here, from your left ventricle to the entire body, okay, through its arterioles and capillaries, of course. So, and then you have kidney. Think of it in a logical sequence. Now that I have told you the functions of each of these, think of it in a logical sequence. Where do we start from? Let's start from the heart because the focus is on the circulatory system. Among these, where do we start? Okay, so let's start with the aorta, which pumps blood from the heart. So starting with the aorta, where does it take blood to? The aorta joins the or divides into the renal artery, which is a smaller artery than the aorta. Okay, the renal artery, okay, so that it can carry oxygenated blood from the heart to the kidney. It's right here, the right renal artery and the left renal artery. Okay, those are just branches. Think of it as renal arteries because that's all that is given in your question now. Okay, now renal artery has come into the kidney. The aorta has branched out into the renal artery, and where is the renal artery supplying blood? It's supplying blood to the, yes, the kidney. So the kidney has to come next, and from the kidney deoxygenated blood is taken by your renal vein. So that would follow after this, renal vein. Where does your renal vein, this blue one, okay, the blue ones are called the renal veins, the right and the left. Where does your renal vein empty its deoxygenated blood to take it to the heart? Yes, it would take it to the posterior vena cava or the inferior vena cava. So our answer, our sequence will be aorta, followed by renal artery, followed by kidney, and then renal vein, and finally the posterior vena cava. Okay, I hope that makes it very, very clear. In case you want more clarification in this, children, go back to our video on circulatory system, circulation of blood, okay, wherein it's explained well in detail. Have a look at it and you will understand the scheme of circulation or the sequence of circulation, okay, because it's an extremely important concept to have clear in your mind. Okay, so yes, the next one. All right, question number 5 or the sub question number 5. Synapse, axon endings, cyton, node of Ranvier, and dendrite. What are we talking about now? Yes, we are talking about the neuron. Okay, remember what the neuron looks like. It's a structural and functional unit of your nervous system. This is what it looks like. How would you arrange this in a sequential order according to this diagram? Yes, tell me. Yes, so we would start with the dendrite. Okay, we would start with the dendrite because nerve signals are always first coming into the dendrite, right? And from the dendrite, where is it entering? It's entering into the cell body or the cyton. Okay, so dendrite followed by the cyton. And what comes next? Yes, after the cyton, yes. So we are done with the cyton, we are done with the dendrite, and after that it goes into the axon and the node of Ranvier. Yes, the nodes of Ranvier, these gaps that you can see in between the myelin sheath, right? So you would write node of Ranvier. Okay, that would be next. And following that, where does it go? It goes into the axon endings or the axon terminals. And from the axon terminal, yes, it enters out as a synapse. Yes. So this will be the logical order for the question that's asked here. Okay, dendrite followed by the cyton or the cell body, followed by the node of Ranvier, and then the axon terminal, followed by the synapse. Okay, yes. Now let's go ahead to the next one. I think we are done with this section also, I mean this sub question also, and with that let's go to sub question number 6 or F. Okay, this is again another interesting one. You are supposed to identify the odd term in each set, in each given set, and name the category to which the remaining three belong. Okay, for example, they've also given you an example. The terms given to you as a set are the ovary, the fallopian tube, ureter, and the uterus. Okay, and the odd term here is the ureter. Why is it so? Because the rest of them are a part of the female reproductive system. Okay, in between parts of the female reproductive system, ureter would not fit in, but you can get confused if you did not read the question clearly. Okay, that is why it's been put there. So let's look at how many of you have understood this logic. For the very first one, basophil, neutrophil, eosinophil, lymphocyte. Yes, there was a question based on the same concept earlier also, wherein I explained what each of these are or what each of these is. If you remember at least that, even if not from previous experience, you should be able to answer this correctly. Okay, have a look at it. Yes, basophil, neutrophil, eosinophil, lymphocyte. Yes, the odd one out here would be exactly the lymphocyte, because all of the others are granular WBCs or granulated WBCs. Yes, lymphocytes and monocytes that way are exceptions. They are agranular WBCs. Okay, so what is the category that you have to write? Category would be the common thing for the other three terms. Okay, that would be the category that you have to write. Okay, so I hope you've got the logic correctly. If you've not, have a look at both the questions we've done before. Think about why we are writing this as the name of the category. Then you will understand what you're supposed to do. Okay. And now the second one, pulmonary vein, hepatic vein, renal vein, and postcaval. Wow, it can be very, very confusing. A lot of veins out there. Postcaval is also a vein, right? So which of these is the odd one out? Think about what each of them does. You will be able to find the answer. Okay, yes, let me give you the hint. Now remember, when we learnt this concept, I told you all arteries in your body carry oxygenated blood except the pulmonary artery. And all the veins in your body carry deoxygenated blood except your pulmonary vein. So yes, among all of these veins here, your pulmonary vein will be the odd one out because the others carry deoxygenated blood, whereas the pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs into your heart. Okay? Yes. So going ahead, gibberellin, auxin, vasopressin, abscisic acid. As hard as it may seem, but pay a little bit of attention, and one of it is completely out of context. Which of these is out of context? Yes, it is vasopressin. It is a hormone which is also called antidiuretic hormone, ADH. The others are all plant hormones. So yes, that is your odd term and your category is plant hormones. Okay, and your next question is wind energy, tidal energy, petroleum, and solar energy. Okay, which of these is odd? I think this is very, very simple. Exactly, it is petroleum. Beyond doubt, it is petroleum because everything else is a renewable source of energy. Okay, yes. So we have one more to finish under this category: plastic, paper, glass, and aluminium. Yes, which of these is odd? Yes, the odd one out is undoubtedly paper because all the others are non-biodegradable wastes, whereas paper is biodegradable, right? Because it's a plant product. Okay. Now let's go ahead to the next sub-question. The diagram given below represents a plant growing in a glass jar. Okay, the glass jar is placed near a window. Okay, this is a glass jar within which a plant is placed. You're placing the entire set up near a window. It's not a mirror, okay, although it looks like one, it's a window, okay. You're placing it near a window. It's daytime. That's why you can see the good-looking sun, bright and shining outside there. Study the diagram, answer the questions that follow. Okay, so you have 5 questions based on this diagram or something related to this diagram. If you answer all those 5, you get 5 solid marks again. Okay, name the tropic movement shown by the shoot and the roots. Yes, tropic movements are directional movements. What do you think the tropic movement of shoots would be called? Shoots move in response to sunlight, and hence you would call it phototropism. Right, for the shoots. And for the roots, they move towards gravity. Roots always move towards gravity, and hence you call that geotropism. Right, so that becomes your answer. Phototropism for the shoot and geotropism for the root. So you are expected to write this also within brackets so that the examiner knows which one you are exactly talking about. Okay, so if you just wrote phototropism and geotropism and left it there, you may not get full marks. Okay, you are expected to write it in full, which one exhibits phototropism, which one exhibits geotropism. Okay, now going ahead, question number 2 based on the same image. What is the stimulus that made the shoot bend towards the window? Okay, yes guys, what is the stimulus? Undoubtedly it is sunlight, or even if you just wrote light, that's also fine. Okay, sunlight is the stimulus that made the shoot bend towards the window. Yes, now question number 3. Which plant hormone caused the above effect? What is the above effect? Movement in response to sunlight. Which hormone, which plant hormone do you think caused this? Yes, this is a little hard, but you have to recall the concepts that we discussed in that chapter about chemical coordination. There is one plant hormone among the 5 that you have learned which is involved in phototropism, and that is auxin. Okay, auxins are the group of hormones which help in this effect. And your last question is to explain the role of this hormone, which is auxin, in bending the shoot towards the window. Okay, how would you explain that? Now I've just put an image for you here. You can either draw this and along with it write a few sentences, or just write a few sentences. Now my suggestion would be to draw it and write points in crisp, because at one glance of such an image the examiner knows that you know the answer. Okay, so just in case you don't remember this, there are auxin molecules which are accumulated here. Okay, now this is the sun right there. This is a part of the plant shoot. Now what happens is, when the sun moves across the day, it keeps moving, right? Or it appears to be moving. When it comes somewhere this side, auxin molecules would move away from light. You can see they are moving towards the shadier side of the plant. So what happens? Cell division or growth occurs in the part which is away from the source of light, because auxins are accumulated there. And because growth occurs in that part, it finally appears as if it is bending towards the sun. That is exactly how auxin controls phototropism. Okay, so you have to write this. You can write it in your own words, but this is basically the gist of the concept. Okay, auxin molecules and the fact that they move away from the sun. Auxin moves away from the sun, and hence the plant appears to bend towards the sun. Okay, yes, that again fetches you 5 solid marks. Okay, so our last question for today, which is your last question for section 1, again going to fetch you 5 marks very easily with a little bit of logic. It's a match the following question. And yes, let's look at the table now. Here there is a correction that I've made, because it's supposed to be ADH and not growth hormone. Okay, so please bear with me on that. Let's try to match it. Diabetes mellitus. What does diabetes mellitus mean? Now that's basically the common type of diabetes wherein a person has uncontrolled blood sugar levels, very high blood sugar levels because of low insulin levels. Okay, so high blood sugar levels has a technical word to it, hyperglycemia. Yes, and hence this can be matched to hyperglycemia. Okay, what about diabetes insipidus? Now that's a completely different type of diabetes, which is because of low secretion of vasopressin, which is another hormone. It's also called the antidiuretic hormone, ADH. Okay, so diabetes insipidus can be matched to hyposecretion of ADH. Now third one, it says cretinism. Okay, where have you heard this term? Yes, cretinism is something related to thyroid. But is it hyper or hypo? Cretinism is in fact caused as a result of hyposecretion of thyroxine hormones. Okay, when the mother has low thyroxine hormones in her body, the baby she delivers can develop a disease, can be born with a disease called cretinism. Okay, so we're done with 3 now. Let's use another color, otherwise it's going to look very, very overcrowded. Insulin shock, what does that even mean? Okay, insulin shock, too much of insulin. What would happen if there is too much of insulin in your body? Yes, blood glucose levels would go abnormally low, right? And what is that technical term called? Opposite of the first one we discussed, which was hyperglycemia. So now it has to be hypoglycemia. So insulin shock is hypoglycemia. Okay, now we are left with one more, which is called exophthalmic goiter. Goiter, as you know, it's something related to thyroid. Yes, but what is exophthalmic? X is out, ophthalmic is eyes. Okay, bulging eyes. Remember, if you think of the picture that we have seen, you would know that it's caused as a result of hypersecretion of thyroxine hormone, leaving us with just this one, which is not used at all. So let me give you the answer in a neat format right here. This is the correct combination of your options. Okay. And yes, that brings us to the end of today's session. So we are done with the discussion of section 1 of the ICSE specimen paper for biology, the latest ICSE biology specimen paper. So by now you can be confident of being able to answer section 1 very, very well, right? So do not worry about mugging up, because ICSE that way does give a lot of importance to concept understanding and a little bit of application also, with a little bit of logical understanding of everything, all the terms. You will certainly be able to answer every question correctly. Trust me, it's not all that difficult. 40 marks certainly out there now in your pocket. Okay, so yes, do hit the like button, children, if you have enjoyed this session and you found it useful, and please share it. Please do share it. This time it's a very sincere request from my side, because every ICSE child out there in the country will certainly benefit from this. And do remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done yet. But yes, in the meantime, do feel free to put your comments or feedback in the comment section below, or send me an email at ambika.gopalakrishnan@vedantu.com. Okay, and until we meet again with section 2 of the paper in the next session, this is Ambika signing off. Bye bye.